After 10 o'clock. Oop, I just went live and didn't do the intro. We're trying this again. Good morning. There's a whole conversation in the chat about like why is the official time? Because I set this for 9 and they're like, why didn't you set it for 10? 9:30. Well, because I should have said this for 10 today, but going forward, we do need to be starting at 9:30.
We do. We have to. We're gonna do it.
For life reasons, we need to be starting at 9:30.
And we will. It will happen.
Okay. Today is this. So wait, this is what. Okay, so both of our birthdays are 2 days apart. So when we come back on Monday, Stephanie will be a year older, and then when we come back on Thursday, I will be a year older because her birthday's on Sunday and my birthday is on Tuesday. And next year, when we have disposable income, we'll do a birthday party.
Yes.
Or like we'll do something in New York. Or maybe we'll go to family reunion.
We were just talking about that. Listen, hello, the sponsors and the promoters and the people who are putting on family reunion. Please,
I would like to
go.
To being
I will volunteer. I will do labor for free. The food looks so good. The price, I understand that sometimes the price is high. The price is too high for me this year, but the food looks very good. I'm echoing.
Oh, they're saying you're echoing. Oh, you know what? My headphones.
I love how everyone is automatically like, it's Stephanie.
Because it is Stephanie.
It is me. I'm sorry. We're going to fix it.
My headphones are downstairs.
Oh, happy early birthday, Amy. Okay, we're going to fix the echo. 1 second.
Yeah, I got to go get my headphones. So we'll let Stephanie opine for a little bit.
I have nothing to opine on for a little bit while she goes downstairs. Except that spring has allegedly sprung and it looks like Portland outside here in New York. So there's that. I'm looking forward to spring. I'm not a fan of the winter. Hopefully it's not echoing while she's gone, but she'll be back and then there will be no echo. We have some interesting topics. We'll get to them. But one of the things we're going to be talking about is Klarna announced their newest partnership with DoorDash. And I am just here to say that the debtor's prison is coming. The debtor's prison is coming because what was the reason to have payment plan for tacos? This version of dystopian foolishness that is currently going on where corporations are trying to send us back to sharecropping in terms of, oh, you don't need to own anything. All of this on credit is objectively wild. But on a happier note, happy almost birthday to all the Aries. Aries season is great. And you're back. And there hopefully is no echo.
Yes, with the headphones.
I like this sweatshirt.
It's from Belief in Fatherhood.
Does he still have these available?
I don't know. They sent them to me.
Spend some money.
It's a setup by Ty. Yes, it is. The Klarna DoorDash is a setup by Ty. Oh my goodness. Well, welcome. It is a spring equinox. Okay, so the whole birthday thing that I was talking about previously was that I don't really feel like the new year starts. Like, I don't follow the Georgian calendar. I personally believe the new year starts after my birthday because my birthday is always the spring equinox. And so, like, this is the end of the year for me. Like, everything sentimentally lines up for like that kind of like slowing down, and then like life opens up after my birthday. I always see content creators produce all this beautiful content around their birthday, and I just never get to it. Close your email app.
It's not even open. That's the crazy thing. On a happy note,
put your computer on Do Not Disturb.
Yes. This computer is old and finicky. On a happy note, we're applying for a grant, and one of the things is live stream setup, and then we will have none of these issues anymore.
Do you have a mic on?
Yeah, my mic is on. Okay, you know what? Before I lie, it's plugged in. Let's double check. No, it wasn't. Hold on.
Mm,
It is plugged in though. Hold
it's
on.
plugged in, but the sound quality is not giving mic.
Why is it not? Oh, okay. Let's see now. Where'd we be without you? In an echo bad audio place.
Mm.
I'm gonna clip this and put this in our grant application. This is why we need money. Please help us. Help me.
You know what? Somebody said they looked up my headphones. Do not give Kim Kardashian any more money. These are the Skims Beats.
Oh,
But they
never
come
give
in
Kim
they
money.
come in skin tones. Now, if you are unlike me and you are melanin blessed and you have a darker skin tone, they do have chocolate colored beats. But
Mm,
the Skims came in beige tones, and clearly I needed.
I see.
I bought them refurbished though, so that was like the caveat to my my attempts at ethical consumption. Since Kim Kardashian's out here posting ads for Tesla.
Kimmy's on my I don't give Kimberly money ever.
Mm.
She's a mess. Her Tesla ad is also a mess. I'm like, the artistic direction of the ad is also not good. She just loves to be tacky. She's very tacky, a very tacky spirit.
Yes. Okay. So we are going to get into the news today. I will say we are talking about if we could get a grant, we will absolutely reformat our programming because
Yes.
we are just in a troubled time. There's no levity to the the historical time. I'm sorry,
So listen,
y'all.
I got nothing for you.
It's bad. It is bad.
Yeah.
And do we want to get on here twice a week talking about how bad the news stories are? Like, what does that do? And so we do want to reformat. We're gonna if we have time today, we will do like a little segment discussion because honestly, the news is drear, dread, and famine. It's bad.
Fear,
It
dread, and famine.
it is bad. And Donald Trump should have never been president, but this is probably where you get into your lawyer bag and I get into my history bag and we talk about how we even got here.
How did you get here? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nobody's
Also,
supposed to be bitch, I missed the bus. Sorry, y'all.
it wasn't supposed to be this way. Out of all the versions of reality to dream up, this is one of the tackiest, wackiest, and just ugly versions we could be in. I
Oh, did you
just
not have you never seen that lady singing How Did You Get Here? Talking about bitch, I missed the bus.
no. That's why I was like,
You did
I
not
know
get
this.
the reference.
No, I was like, I got my original reference. I feel like an old mama right now. I'm like, I understand
it's
my original song, and I
it's
see you have remixed
okay.
my song, and now you're gonna get
No.
attention.
There was where was it at?
Is this
Y'all
from
remember
Vine?
the
It's
meme?
giving
No, there's
Vine.
a meme. It was longer than 6 seconds. It was a black lady outside singing "How did you get here, bitch? I took the bus. Nobody took me here."
We are very unserious.
And it
That's
was
the
like
levity.
that shit lives in every time I hear Deborah Cox. I think of that lady who was singing on somebody's porch. Talk
I really have to find
about
this.
oh, I'm trying to.
I finished my coffee.
Okay,
Why?
this is a TikTok from people be trying to. Let me see. Is this it?
This is the levity for the day. See?
No, I want the original.
No.
Maybe I gotta listen on Twitter. I want like the original version where you can see the lady outside. Um,
Listen, Dominique, Queen Minerva, and Littlest Kim remember. The North remembers. It's just me and my 65-year-old spirit.
Stephanie, we have to bring you into the African American cultural zeitgeist.
I'm
Like
like
if
an
you
old
go on
lady.
Twitter, it's like everyone's commenting it, but nobody has the video. How did you get here, bitch? I caught the bus.
This is what happens when you're like a very offline person. Usually somebody will send me something. Like N-word Navy, I'm very familiar with because my friend sent me all of the Twitter threads, but I've never had Twitter.
You've never had a Twitter?
I've never had a Twitter, girl. Twitter is the devil's playground. It's nothing but foolishness and commotion. So I love to catch a secondhand laugh from Twitter, but absolutely not. Twitter is so lawless to me. I find Twitter to be one of the most lawless spaces on the internet. /X doesn't even work to my understanding. But
Oh
listen,
no! Wait! I found it was. Wait! Is this it? Is this it? Oh my god!
I feel like we're in an anthropological class. Teach Stephanie the internet memes. Wait, I can't hear it, and I can't hear you.
How did you get here? Bitch, I called the bus. Nobody supposed to be here. Well, bitch, I came to fuck. I tried that love thing for the last time. My heart says no, no. Well, bitch, your heart can't talk. Nobody supposed to be here when they go that door. Excuse me, escort. How did you get here?
Bitch, I caught the bus.
Nobody supposed to be here. Well,
Bitch, I came to fuck. You got.
I tried that love thing for the last time. My heart says no, no.
Bitch, your heart can't talk.
Nobody supposed to be here when they go that door. Excuse me, escort.
I'm sorry. This is a part of like Black American internet lore that you are just supposed to know.
I have so many thoughts. One, I wasn't expecting her to also be 65 in spirit. I was expecting like a young kid, to be honest. At first when you said it, I was like, oh, this is probably like the YNs before we decided to call the children YNs. And I wasn't expecting that. Two, the random vape of whatever the smoke is, I wasn't expecting that. Wow. Okay, I understand.
Welcome to Black American internet history. If we had like graphics, I should get that like air horn that DDG be using in his lives. Wait, I do have a sound effects panel. Window.
That was a good one. Also, was somebody walking past the street that was about to be in the frame? Who she's saying excuse me to? Yeah, I have so many questions.
There is, in fact, a lot happening. Did I play the
What year is that from?
Huh?
What year is that from?
I don't know. This was like 2011, 12. This is like early internet history.
Oh, this is college.
Stephanie. We gotta get. I thought I was bad, girl.
No, I'm really bad about it. I'm like, oh, interesting. Which is always why it's been ironic that this has ended up being me on the internet. It's something I love, hanging out with y'all.
Okay, I'm gonna have to download that video and have it on my phone because yes. So let's get into today's news.
This is a new segment, and that was very much the levity you needed to get through the gray skies of spring equinox. Thank you, Julesy, for that.
Is spring equinox gray skies? I mean, it rains, but
in Brooklyn currently, it's gray. Also, let me get some tissue
because I'm like, yeah. Are your allergies? What is happening, Stephanie?
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Oh.
Wow.
Oh, I wonder if the cherry blossoms are out. Okay, I'm back. I'm back and my nose is not running.
Let's swap sides. There you go.
Oh, hello. I don't mind the swap side.
Okay, so today we are starting off talking about the White House. Yes, the White House calls on the Supreme Court to rein in judges blocking Trump's agenda. I think the news headlines are, what are they doing? Because what Trump essentially wants to do is he wants to impeach judges who have ruled against him. That's not reining in. Like this kind of like Reuters doing this like soft blow. It's just presidential administrative things that we have to see the outcome of. Like, no, this is a coup. This is a government coup, and that man wants to retaliate against anyone who has ever done anything against him or he's perceived as anybody doing something against him. He wants to bully judges.
And I think this could be, and they're not doing it, but this is the perfect time for traditional news to highlight, hey, let's have a civics lesson and as to why this is a coup, why this is unprecedented, and why this is illegal. Illegal is the word of the day. We have three branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. They work and function interconnectedly, but also independent. That's why we have checks and balances. It is not for the White House. The White House in the executive branch, they are not allowed to say, hey, I don't like that this judge, federal judge in this case, ordered this, that they are blocking our agenda. That is the purpose of the court system. The purpose of the court system is to go and assess whether or not laws and policies are constitutional or if they are illegal. That is the entire reason why they exist. The legislative branch is supposed to interpret laws, and then you have the executive branch, which is supposed to carry them out. Them framing it in this manner misses the whole point of, wait, let's educate our population, who unfortunately, I think in Florida, it's like the fourth grade you take civics, and that's the only time. Like, you don't take civics, not on the curriculum in the state of Florida for high school, even though it should be. So a lot of people haven't even heard the word civics since elementary. This would be a great time to show everybody, hey, this is why this is a problem. This is why, we should push back. Like, this is how our democracy is supposed to work. This is how it's set up. It is not working as it is intended.
And then they let Trump be hyperbolic, and he's calling this far leftist lunatic judge, who simply is a judge who voted, what was it? That they issued an order temporarily banning the administration from removing migrants from the United States under an 18th century. 18th century is the 1900s. No,
Correct.
1700s.
1900s is the 20th century, and then 18th century, 1700s.
So a 1700 something law that the president invoked to proceed with deportations, that says, basically the law was that he could deport anybody from a country that the United States was at war with. Is that the law that this one is for? That's one of the laws he's been trying to use.
They're bringing up any type of old law. And the reason for that is the reason why they're doing this, and they've done this with like dismantling affirmative action, things of that nature. They're bringing up these old 18th and 19th century laws because most lawyers are not up to date on them. There's no reason for a modern lawyer to know the ins and outs of a law from 1700s because it's not really applicable anymore. So they're doing that to slow the process. And then also, it's normal for a judge to issue a TRO, temporary restraining order. So that way the judge and mostly the law clerks in the federal bench are doing a lot of this work. They have to do the research of themselves being familiar with, okay, what is this law you're saying that you're using? And they have to issue a proper motion. Trump throwing a temper tantrum essentially over the judge actually doing their job is past ridiculous. Like, what are they cannot tell you about the law on the spot while we're sitting here. I can't tell you. That'll require probably like a week of research.
And then here goes Musk claiming that the orders against them are a judicial coup. No, you're the coup. But because we get these news outlets that are soft rolling a dictatorship, it's the dictatorship who gets to say, oh no, it's you, y'all are the problem, and frame it as though something so damning is happening to them. But then we get the Chief Justice. Is it the PBS article, the one about Roberts? Let's skip to.
Yes, both of them have them. So I just wanted to put like different. One is from The Hill, which The Hill has become like much more right wing in my opinion than they used to be, and then I also included PBS. They're both basically the same. I think it's interesting in talking about Chief Justice Roberts. Chief Justice Roberts leans extremely far right, in my opinion. Very conservative. He has for years. He's made it known. It took him about 30 years to help with the overturning of not only affirmative action, but also the bill that he hated the most was the 1965 Voting Rights Act, When he was a law clerk, he is quoted as stating, "We don't need this. What do we need this for? This is stupid. Why should we have this here in place?" And he helped overturn that. So saying all that to say that if Chief Justice John Roberts, who last term allowed for President Trump as the president to have any type of, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the word right now. Oh, it would leave my mind right now. What is the word?
So basically, Roberts was the lead justice on the case where Trump argued that as president, he could not be criminalized.
Yes, and he has blanket immunity, which has never occurred. So he has ultimate immunity. So Chief Justice Roberts leans extremely right. For him to even be pushing back is showing how ridiculous it is that the current administration is essentially, one, trying to rebuke judges in the first place, and then two, basically alluding to the fact that they'd like to go after the judiciary. This is essentially somebody who's in cahoots with Trump and has been for many years, and they themselves are pushing back.
And these headlines are crazy because he offers a rare public pushback after Trump. He gave him didn't name the man, did not name Trump in the statement, and simply says that, you know, the federal courts are the federal courts, leave them alone. Okay. Oh, okay.
Exactly. One of the things I think is interesting as we look at like what the media landscape, and one of the reasons why I think both of us do feel like Politics Pops is needed, is that you need a voice of reason of like, hey, here are all the facts, these are all the things going on, because the way that we have incentivized mainstream media now, look at all the ads that are currently playing on the one website. So not PBS, but when we were on the other websites, if you go on The Hill, you go on Reuters, etc., there are so many ads running because that's how they are making money. That's how they're incentivized. For them to put these headlines as if Chief Justice Roberts, who is extremely right-wing leaning and has proven to be biased throughout his entire career, as if he's all of a sudden going to save democracy, that's not true. That is giving, in my opinion, liberals some type of like, see, it's okay. So like, let's take a deep breath. There is no deep breath that's actually coming from that. He's just saying that so that way he can say like, hey, I still need my job. Y'all cannot be over here acting as if I shouldn't be running the Supreme Court. So let me just say something about the rule of law. That's all he's really doing, is covering his own behind. Yeah. Chief Justice Roberts is not our version of centrist is far right, but he's not even a centrist for what it's worth. Like if you look at his opinions and the way he's voted, he has had his own personal agenda. I forgot who he clerked for when he graduated from law school, but he clerked for, I think, Justice Rehnquist, maybe, who was also right-leaning as well. So whenever they show those graphs, I always think it's really interesting. The mouthpiece of conservatism on the Supreme Court is Clarence Coon Thomas. He is a mouthpiece because they love to like the shock value of him, but Chief Justice Roberts is just as conservative as Clarence Thomas is.
Or Alito.
Or yes, he always slides himself to the back. Mm-hmm.
He's just quieter.
He is. He doesn't like to write the opinions. He's very much like, I'm just here.
So we're looking at the Department of Education getting an executive order from Trump is expected today to begin the dismantling of the department. However, the Department of Education was created by Congress and needs Congress to order its dismantling. Supposedly, the executive order will instruct Education Secretary Linda McMahon to begin dismantling the agency. It cannot be closed without the approval of Congress. The New York Times notes that Republicans' attempts to shutter the agency date back to the 1980s, which would be under Reagan. However, Reagan had Reagan's entire time in the presidency, he had a House controlled by the Democrats. Which is very interesting.
So much done. That's so interesting.
Did he get so much done? My segment at the end of this, I would like to make an argument against the idea that Reagan started a lot of things. Somebody else finished those things for him. But
and his name rhymes with Will.
Yes. Well, it is Will. William.
Oh yeah, Bill is the nickname for William. I always forget his real name is William.
Welcome to America. So that's why the Department of Education and Welfare and Disability and all these other things and Social Security could not be dismantled fully under the Reagan presidency because the Democrat House stymied Reagan's ability. He did take away money. He did do that. And then when we got George Bush after him, it kind of sealed the deal in the direction the federal government was going in. But yeah, so we'll wait to see today what the ultimate dismantling of the Department of Education looks like. We do have several special elections in the House coming up in Florida.
Oh, well,
you know,
pray for the cousins of Florida.
I think this is the ultimate test because I think we are all at this point in time. Most of our opinions are biased by our media consumption and what our timelines look like. And if you're active, I mean, maybe Stephanie has the more objective viewpoint on this, and she's not on TikTok and she's not on Twitter and she's barely on Instagram. You know, she's not active on social media, but a lot of people, our biases are set by the algorithm and what media you're being serviced that informs you of how society is going. I always wonder, for as much FAFO, fuck around and find out content I see, for all the town halls full of angry white people I see, what are the MAGA supporters really interested in? What are they being fed? What does their For You page look like? And I think ultimately these upcoming elections will be a temperature check on where the people are. But with these special elections, Democrats, is it enough for them to retake the House?
I don't know. And I'm just over here looking at the dates. So that way, if you're in Florida, you can be informed. April 1st. So that is around the corner. There are the 3 separate special elections being held in Florida. So is that what day of the week is that? Let's see. It's a Tuesday. It's always a Tuesday.
April Fools. Let's see who's the fool on April Fools in the great state of Florida. Let's see
Florida's
what's
a full
going
red
on.
state now. Yeah. So for context, my family lives in Miami, Florida is so fascinating that they like to position Miami as like a blue holdout, but Miami has become very red and is very red, predominantly because the majority of the Miami population are white Cubans, and white Cubans have historically voted Republican. There's a little bit of a breaking off into sense with that of like millennials and Gen Z, but it's not a huge breaking off. I think the interesting thing is having grown up in Miami my whole life and going to college in Central Florida, I wouldn't hold my breath for Florida. Unfortunately, I haven't heard, my dad is like very active in watching politics. I haven't heard any hopefulness of like, hey, there are grassroots campaigns going on for these 3 special elections to get, some sense and some hopefulness for the residents of Florida. I would love to be proven wrong about that. So if you live in the areas that are having special elections, let's see. And please let us know that there's hopefulness around the corner. Based on what I can see, if anything, people in Florida now, even with the rise of global warming directly impacting Florida residents. So there's a lot more hurricanes happening. Hurricanes are happening not in hurricane season. My dad's best friend, unfortunately, his home insurance has just gone up 50%. Florida is becoming a much more deregulated place, similar to Texas. Like Texas is lacking so many basic regulations that exist in a lot of states. Florida is very similar, like where the insurance companies have lobbied the state Senate. So that way there are not laws in place to say like, hey, you cannot raise my home insurance by 20, 30, 40, 50% in 1 year. It's wild. And I think a large part of that problem, to Haitian Hero's point, is the Democrats don't invest down ballot. So where does that leave regular people who are like, hey, screw the Dems, rightfully? And also, can we have a working class party? Because Miami is a great example where the cost of living has significantly and has always for the past 10 years outpaced what people actually make. People in Miami do not make that much money. there aren't that many industries in Miami. There's a healthcare industry, and then there's a tourism industry, and then there is, what's the appropriate term for it? I don't know. The sex worker industry. There's not a lot of ways to make money, yet an apartment in Miami costs more than an apartment in Brooklyn, which is wild. So I'm not sure that the rest of the place, should hold our breath for Florida, which is unfortunate and very sad. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any hopefulness offline.
Spiritual sigh.
Yeah, I don't know. The closest Florida ever got to some progress was Andrew Gillum, and he was so close. And then that unfortunately devolved into, wow, a level of foolery that only Florida could do.
Oh, I do have the horn thing. I can do. It's like I do have the sound effects. Do I have like the bomb going off?
I don't know.
Sorry, just going through the noises I have on the sound effects that I have on my computer.
Yeah, I don't know what it would take to get constituents to A, see that they're being harmed, and B, wake up their, not even radical imagination, just any imagination to imagine that they deserve better. I'm not exactly sure. Because Florida is also home of, like, we had Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush was the governor when I was a kid, and he was a fool. So, like, George Bush instituted nationwide No Child Left Behind, but Jeb Bush tried that out and started it in Florida. So our education system in Florida, it hasn't been good for decades. So I'm not exactly sure how.
Did we talk about the right dominates the online news cycle? Did we talk about that on here?
We talked about how basically things that are not viewed as news are skewing more right. So sports, television, any type of non-political podcast. Did we talk about
this article?
Yes. So that's what we talked about, but like not in depth, but we skimmed it a little bit last week.
We went over this. I think this is how do you get Florida to change?
Because Florida loves Joe Rogan. Florida loves, like, Florida man is a thing because Florida is lovers of lawlessness. So how do you change this when Joe Rogan is billed as apolitical, which is, I think, is fascinating because Joe Rogan is very political. But people who listen to him will say, like, he's apolitical. I just like that we're talking about dinosaurs, even though there's no paleontologists on here, and whatever the heck else he's talking about on there.
The top Black outlet is the Breakfast Club. Is Florida listening to the Breakfast Club? The Ricky Smiley show?
Ricky Smiley.
What's the other one? The other comedian.
Is Steve Harvey still on in the morning?
I don't know if Steve Harvey is. Tom Joyner still on? I don't think so.
That's where I grew up listening to those. I don't know if they're still on.
The light skinned, funny in the face, looks like a Ninja Turtle comedian. You're not gonna help me here.
No, I'm not. I'm like, whose name? I don't know.
No, not Ricky Smiley. The one that Steve Harvey doesn't get along with. It's not coming up.
His list is probably long. I'm not sure. One of my questions, and I think what's
the New York background sounds happening with the...
Girl, this is New York. Somebody is, in need of ambulance services. I'm sure the police siren will come off soon. No, I have been hearing more ambulance lately. That's why I know.
Thank you, DL Hughley. Thank you. I knew the comments would come through. Stephanie. Do you know who DL Hughley is?
Yes, I know who DL Hughley is.
I have to check.
He's not an internet person.
He has a radio show. He has a radio show. Like when I turn on the car, here is Charlotte. That's typically who I hear on the radio. And I don't like him.
Tom Joyner is big in Florida, in Miami. Or used to be. I don't know about it anymore. When I go home, I don't turn on the radio anymore.
All right, let's talk about the Klarna and DoorDash and the sign of the end of times.
I'm trying to figure out ways similar to how I think people are rightfully trying to figure out like what is the breaking point for MAGA in general of like, hey, we understand that holistically for a lot of people, it's the racism that's keeping you alive. Like you just enjoy it so much and you will suffer as long as Black people also suffer. But what is the breaking point of that suffering so where you will actually advocate for yourself? Similarly to that, what is the point of like, oh, what is that? Are you listening to something? Oh, oh, I thought it was echoing. Um, what is the breaking point of getting people to realize Klarna is not your friend? Any buy now, pay later? Because whenever I bring it up, people like I understand like the defensiveness of like, well, I paid mine off. Okay, but if you paid it off, then why use it? What's wrong with saving up the money and then buying it? Klarna is currently now they are partnering with DoorDash. Klarna will likely be the biggest initial public offering IPO this year. Which is why I think they're going after a lot splashier things. If you scroll down a little bit, I wanted to read this quote from their executive right here. Here is good. Okay, so of where this is going and why I think this is nefarious. David Sykes, Chief Commercial Officer of Klarna, said, "Our partnership with DoorDash marks an important milestone in Klarna's expansion into everyday spending categories. Emphasis on everyday spending categories. By offering smarter, more flexible payment solutions for groceries, takeout, and retail essentials, we're making convenience even more accessible for millions of Americans." We don't need this level of convenience. This level of convenience comes at a cost to you in that they are going to likely start introducing much more predatory interest rates. Why do you need 4 different payments to pay for Taco Bell?
And it's essentially a credit card because Klarna, for the most part, be like,
Mhm.
you need to pay us back in 3 to 4 weeks. That's a credit card. That is not a loan. Now, I spent a lot of money, so a firm does give me a couple months now, but with no interest. But I paid them hoes off because they report to your credit.
And I think a lot of people don't know that they report to your credit or they think they're building credit. And I think one of the things why Klarna is so big now is that there's a lot more accessible financial information. So people know inherently, hey, I can try to use my credit card responsibly, but if I don't use my credit card responsibly, like there are a lot of very negative implications with the credit card. Credit cards have interest rates upwards of 20%, 24% if you have a travel rewards credit card, etc. And because like that psychological point is ingrained, I think holistically into millennials at least, Klarna has popped up as like, hey, this is a new alternative. It's not a credit card. There is no interest. It's interest free. They can change their T's and C's at any time. It's not interest free. It is the same product that you know is not the best, just repackaged in a different way. So that way your guard is down and then you do this. Because getting Klarna with DoorDash and DoorDash is already charging you exorbitant amounts of money because they're charging you the delivery fee. You have to tip the person, of course, because they don't pay them people. And then they're also charging you a service fee like, hey, we have to keep up this website, so you need to pay for it. Your $5 tacos are now $20 and you're going to put the $20 into 4 payments of $5 on Klarna. Why? And I think it obscures what the real issue is, that we have a cost of living crisis and that people's wages have not gone up. They haven't kept up with inflation. They haven't kept up. In Crown Heights, I saw a advertisement for Crown Heights the other day where they are now, this is Eric Adams' fault. They have now decided to put on the New York lottery system, which New York lottery is supposed to get affordable housing. For affordable housing, a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom in this new build in Crown Heights off of Rogers Ave, for context, like if you live in New York, so like a little bit deeper into Crown Heights, is $3,600. $3,600. Who can afford that? Nobody currently in the neighborhood. Not even the gentrifiers can afford that. It doesn't make any sense. And so they're doing all these things of like, hey, well, if you get paid $5,000 a month, that means you have $5,000 to spend the entirety of it. You shouldn't be forced to spend the entirety of your entire check just to live. Like, how are you going to save any money? We have no social security nets. What happens if you have an emergency? Like, what happens if your kid has an emergency, your family member, your friend, etc.? And that's where all of this is unfortunately going. Coupled with the fact that the US, our advertising machine does not exist in this way anywhere else in the world. Only in the US are you getting advertisements every 3 to 4 minutes online. Netflix has ads now. If you watch TV, if you go outside, advertisement, advertisement, advertisement. On the train now in New York, I hate them. I just have to close my eyes because it's like very jarring to look at. They've changed the train now where they have like bright surgical lights and then they have moving TV screens. They're running ads. And I'm like, this is the train ride. Like, why do I need to see a moving ad on the train ride?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's all designed to
Keep
keep you.
consumerism alive while people are losing their income and quality of life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then to push you into the gig economy so that way you continuously work until, maybe you get lucky, you hit 65, but you can't retire. But also, a lot of people, unfortunately, because the quality of life here has dwindled so much, if you make it to 65, they're banking on, you're only going to get 3 years of Social Security because, you're going to go on to glory. And I say all that to
Social
say
Security is even still around.
that,
But that's the interesting
money.
part. During Reagan's, we did not lose Social Security during Reagan's administration because a bipartisan movement of like the elderly, at that point it's a silent generation, not even in the 1980s, who were the old folks? It wasn't the boomers. But,
silent generation. Whoever's older than silent generation.
Yeah, they rose up to campaign against Reagan dismantling Social Security. It's never been a popular thing to dismantle Social Security.
Oh, you know what generation? They're called the greatest generation, born between 1901 to 1927. They are the generation of World War II. So they were absolutely not. We're not dealing with you.
Okay.
Our silent generation loves labor. So I think the millennials can help.
I'm going to do my little segment now and talk about, but my PDF is highlighted. I'm like, oh, should I,
That's fine.
My highlights are annoying. This is what it looks like.
I like it.
Those I highlight in pink and purple. These are not helpful highlights. Anywho, this is an article that I recently read on policies, principles, and polls Bill Clinton's third way welfare politics. And the author, Brendan O'Connor, is making the argument that at best, let's start at best. At best, Clinton offered a way out of the liberal conservative impasse on how to effectively reform America's welfare system. At worst, Bill Clinton's position undermined the concept of welfare entitlements that the Democratic Party had established in America. And then he makes the argument that the failure of Clinton's third way welfare agenda opened the way for more conservative reforms. This experience is illustrative of the pitfalls of third way politics with its mix of post-entitlement welfare policies and hard-nosed electoral positioning. He, in this article, is sort of building out an argument about how Ronald Reagan created a social climate or a political climate that was anti-welfare and saw welfare as an issue of dependency and of too much government. And Clinton comes in, and rather than at a point where he has a Congress that is Democratic controlled in his first term as a Democrat president, that rather than embracing the liberalism of Democrats who had started the social welfare programs under FDR, he finishes Reagan's job instead and kind of seals the deal on the direction the United States goes around how we view welfare and the dependency of people on welfare. So let's just go through some of my highlights. Because the question that I left with this article was, what's the difference between third way politics and neoliberalism? Which is something that I now need to go look up. Because how do we define neoliberalism? Third way is sort of a description of how, well, third way, the renewal of social democracy, of how to, but to me, it just sounds like neoliberalism, right? This idea that we rhetorically embrace liberalism, but we policy-wise embrace conservatism. And then we find the middle ground between the two, where we say one thing and we give it the veneer of this political train of thought while we're actually doing a much more conservative social reform on welfare.
And I think that's also how the Overton window has shifted so much in the past 20, if not 30 years, to where people such as Joe Biden will happily and proudly be like, I'm a centrist. I'm here to help everybody. I'm for both sides, when really a centrist is somebody who is on the right, is right-leaning, and is actually a conservative. So it gives the alt-right, like, we don't have a proper term, in my opinion, anymore for somebody on the alt-right, unless we just call them, what they are is a white supremacist, patriarchal, white nationalist, which usually they fall into that. But then what do you do with the people whose skin happens to be brown and they are also
conservative and leading
conservative, extremely alt-right?
And because conservatism now really is leaning towards an alt-right. Okay, so but in this article he says, because the Democrats controlled the House of Representatives throughout Reagan's 8-year presidency, the Reagan administration was unable to cut the welfare system to the degree they wanted. However, at the ideological level, the Reagan Revolution, with its intellectual activists and populist elements, successfully moved the welfare debate to the right. After Reagan's departure, Republican politicians such as Newt Gingrich kept pushing for more substantial welfare reforms. However, until their 1994 congressional victory, the Republicans lacked the legislative opportunity to enact the types of change they believed were needed. Nonetheless, conservative ideological thinking increasingly dominated public discourse about welfare. This widespread shift included the increasingly negative framing of discussions about welfare recipients throughout the 1980s and 1990s.
Interesting. Like the rise of like rough and rugged individualism. And I think it kind of ties into what we're talking about with DoorDash and Klarna as well, which is because we don't have universal basic income, people can't fathom that. They're like, oh, that's giving money to people who are undeserving. I think people can fathom, okay, what if I'm a regular teacher? People understand the value of teachers unless you are completely just a fool. I'm a teacher. I make $50K at max and I cannot afford these things. I'm now using Klarna to get my dinner because you have put all the responsibilities on me versus I've paid my taxes. Like, why don't I have a cost of living increase? Like, why don't I have these things? I think that's what the private companies have realized, and they've come in to plug those gaps, but not plug those gaps in any positive way. They've come in to plug those gaps and say, hey, you need to pay for that. You need to feed this kid. You need to feed yourself. You need to do all these things.
It is very, yes. And part of it, particularly when it comes to Reagan, is that Reagan doesn't necessarily, he uses dog whistles. Reagan doesn't really talk about like black women or single mothers even. He references the welfare queen, which turns out was a white woman, but everybody at the time thought was a black woman. And they both
She went to trial. There are pictures of her. There's her multiple trials. She was a white woman scammer extraordinaire. Highly recommend looking her up. She existed. She is real.
And the article, she's from the Chicago Tribune, was the news story that covered her and gave her the moniker? I want to say monkey, or the moniker, welfare queen. And welfare was, as the article says, welfare was regularly blamed for persistent poverty and the emergence of feared inner city underclass. So those were the terms that were used: the underclass, dependency, broken households. And so under Reagan and both Bushes, we get, and even Clinton, we get money towards marriage, money towards federal dollars taken from the welfare coffers to give to private entities to encourage marriage, encourage family lives. Because word to Moynihan, it was supposedly the dismantling of the family that kills the black, it's the what word did he use to describe the way that black women treat black men?
I know what you're talking about, but it's like a very specific
I gotta look up the Moynihan report. Anyhow, Clinton's approach promoted the classic third-way position that welfare rights came with responsibilities. Clinton described his welfare strategy in simple terms as no more something for nothing. And so they put work requirements on welfare and really opened the doors for conservatives to sort of take over the program and twiddle it down to something that's ultimately does not help move people into the middle class. It does not move people out of poverty.
Mm-hmm. And it criminalizes you for having certain amounts in your bank account. Disability rights advocates are often rightfully quoted as saying, like, hey, as somebody who's receiving disability assistance, they check how much money is in your bank account. And if you have more than the threshold, which is extremely low, they will reduce your disability rights benefit, your disability benefit. So it covers so many more people. But because to your point that Reagan used all these dog whistles, impoverished white people were like, see, they're talking about those black people over there. This doesn't have nothing to do with me. While the number one beneficiary of these programs by percentages is white people. Poverty comes for everybody. It's forced poverty in this country.
Yeah. Anyhow, that was this article. I really enjoyed it. Um, I wrote it. Actually, this is for my class. I'm reading on Reagan, two articles on Clinton, and one on Nixon. Yeah. Did not highlight anything from that
Public
one.
policy class.
Yes, my brain is like, you know, like, damn you, William J. Clinton, for really, I don't know. If you're coming, this is what's crazy, right? We come off of two Reagan, two Reagan administrations, one Bush administration,
Mhm.
but the whole time the House is held by the Democrats. Why do you come in and lean right?
Which the answer is, and people on this platform understand, and I want more people to understand, as the ire for the Democrats grows amongst the Democrat base, I'm like, this is great. Let's fan the fuels. And also, if you identify as a liberal, you're not helping yourself because it's just the other side of the conservative coin. You just are saying, like, yeah, I believe in forced poverty, I believe in this, but I believe in political correctness and being polite to people to their face, seemingly, while I go about my racist, misogynist, etc. capitalist business. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you in life. If your social security is still going to get teefed along with the rest of whatever you want to call people that are left of whatever they're calling the current left, it's
Leftist.
not helpful.
And
Which
I
I
think
don't even know how helpful that is.
this is sort of the makings of the current Democrat establishment that we see today.
Mhm.
Chuck Schumer wants to go back to third way politics. I think a lot. Gavin Newsom wants to go back to third way politics.
Mhm.
This is why we get this sort of progressive push with Obama, who ultimately embraces third way politics. We have a common. This is where that entire sort of establishment, even when people speak out against the establishment, they still acquiesce to the Democrat establishment and the money and the power and the institutional power that group holds. And
Mhm.
that's when we talk about like just getting an old white man or a young white man to run for president. We're talking specifically about the sort of neoliberal third way politic that gives you liberal rhetoric but
Mhm.
primes policy and reform for conservative takeovers.
Yep. To have essentially the ultra rich that the 99% of people will never belong to, never touch. My friend put it a very funny way that middle class people always feel like they are just one touch away from the garment of being a billionaire. Like you just want to, and I'm like, you're not even close. It's not happening, child. You don't even understand what these zip codes are. Like, let it go. Fran asked if you can put
Yes,
if you're allowed to share the article. Okay.
I'll share
Um,
it in the Discord. Friends in my Discord.
okay,
I'll
cool.
share it there.
Perfect. Um, where was I going with this? I'm curious as to when people will realize the Democratic Party is useless. It's not doing, to your point, it's been here and they've had power and they've controlled the Congress before. And what have they given us? It should be noted that the rights we got, 1964 Civil Rights Act, 1965 Voting Rights Act, 1965 Immigration Act, those were populist movements pushed by working class people. The Democrats getting the credit for it is so fascinating. I think Black politicians realize, like, okay, well, this is the only political party that will help sponsor this work, but it's not the Democrats doing that work. It's regular people. It's your aunties going to church. It's the mamas who were cleaning ladies down south saying, like, hey, I'm not going to go on the bus for over a year. I'm not going to do these things. Like, we do not need the Democratic Party. They are hoarding money at best and doing what? Putting on kente cloth stoles like Nancy Pelosi. What have we gotten for this? What have we gotten?
What have we gotten? Okay, here's the article. I'm going to put it in the Discord now. It's like ultimately this led here this prime Trump to do what he's doing and to have the base to make it possible. And I guess if he successfully dismantles, then we should be moving towards what's next and not holding on to something that essentially has never really served us.
Agree. Like, let's let it go. It's okay. Let it go like Elsa and figure out, okay, how do we get all these people who want these things? And I think the hopeful part of what you said of how the Great Generation, so the World War I generation, how they pushed back against Reagan, these are everyday regular people saying, actually, no, like we'll have a bipartisan effort. I don't agree with this. Why would I benefit from this? And I think it's interesting because my understanding and talking to some people who hold deeply, held liberal, well, the Democrats is the best we're going to get beliefs, is they often will conflate America's version of liberalism with Europe. Of like, see, look, this is similar to Europe. No, it's not. In Europe, their right wing is not trying to dismantle their social security. Their right wing is basically saying, I want all of these things for white people. Like, they're extremely racist, but they understand basic fundamentals of you can't have a functioning society if you don't take care of the constituents. You
And
need
their welfare policy is we're like means
far
tested
advanced.
welfare that's based on like what work you can do, and if you're
Mhm.
a able-bodied person you should be working, versus they have welfare that is based on ensuring a very base level minimal quality of life.
Yes. You exist, therefore you get healthcare because you are alive, not because you told me you only make 20,000 euros. You exist, so you get healthcare. Is it perfect? No. Is a lot of the things that France, Portugal, Spain, a lot of their institutions, the reason why they're able to do that is because they have colonization money, which is a separate conversation, which they owe reparations to a numerous amount of us. However, to conflate rough and rugged individualism that the Democrats have put their face on, it's nonsensical. So as more and more people get upset with the Dems, I hope we can do something with that anger. Because it's not okay, like let's just, put more Dems in here. For what? To do what?
Mm, who knows?
I don't know.
It's gonna be a time.
Yes. And I think that for like practical purposes, Haitian Hero has a great point. The thing is that we need to build up the alternative first and win some local elections. People won't buy into it until they see a track record of success. And I completely agree. And that is also why I don't think the Dems can do it, because they don't believe in helping down ballot races. They don't do it. It's not something that they believe in doing. They don't want to do it, whatever have you. There are in Alabama, is one of the blackest states in the country. In Alabama, a lot of the state Senate races, the Republicans run unopposed. So if you run unopposed, you automatically win. One of the people I interviewed for first episode of Complexion of Law, with, I believe, Corey raised $12,000 himself. With $12,000, he received like 35% of the vote. So if he actually was able to raise like even $25,000, which is not a huge sum of money, and actually had a little bit of help, I think he could have won. And that's 35% of the vote, being a young millennial, first time running against an incumbent Republican. So I think it's very possible, if we start targeting like state Senate races, with the radical imagination of what you want to see in this place. Because I don't want to see any more lily liberalism foolishness. It's not doing anything. My student loans are still in my face.
Oh my gosh, everyone's talking about the executive order for the student loans and how their payments are so high. I need to actually, when we log off, I need to call my provider and be like, baby, I'm in school. Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone.
Call them. And then also, as somebody who's been fighting with my student loans for the past 5 years, your student loan service provider is a private company who's working at the the behest of the Department of Education, they have extreme amounts of bureaucracy. From a standpoint of what happened during the pandemic, a lot of these companies laid off a third up to half of their workforce. So if you call them, it might take you a while to get a person, but wait till you get a person, and that person is much more likely to help you because they don't want to deal with it either. They're over there like, how am I supposed to all of a sudden onboard all these people and figure out their payment? They don't want to deal with it. So definitely call them.
Yeah, here
If you
goes.
have,
Your payment is due soon. Past due. Total due $1,100. Y'all go to hell.
call them today, because what they're also doing is they are also, in my opinion, secretly trying to tank people's credit scores. If you are past due and they report you to collections, it will tank your credit score, which will then encourage you to be on Klarna. It is a giant circular scheme by Todd. So call those people, please.
Senator John Fetterman is in Israel at the moment. He met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, who gifted him a silver beeper. The beeper gift was inspired by the covert operation against Hezbollah last year, which led to thousands of Hezbollah pagers exploding at the same time after Israeli intelligence rigged them with explosive materials.
That's nasty. And that beeper terrorist attack they conducted in Lebanon, they killed a lot of children and a lot of just everyday citizens. It was going off in markets. It was like, it's not like they are targeting a military base. That's not what they did.
And Fetterman, won on this idea of being working class. He is in a hoodie meeting it, and y'all
You're a
don't know if you can
scammer.
see. He looked like he came from a jog, but that man had a stroke recently. So, somebody's gonna have to primary against him.
Yeah, that's a great call out of somebody who actually holds those ethics, because clearly the people that voted for him do want to vote for somebody that has those ethics. They have been copiously duped.
All right. Well, we'll see you on Monday. Do we sing you happy birthday now?
No.
We don't.
We could do a joint happy birthday on Thursday.
On Thursday.
Well.
We could do it on Monday. We could play the Stevie Wonder happy birthday song that was written for Martin. You do know that one?
Of course I know that one. It's not on the internet. It's in real life. So I know.
I don't know what Jamaicans sing at happy birthday parties.
Listen, I'm very black.
Because we have to do it before your birthday. Here we go. We're gonna get copyright strike. Hold on.
Well, yeah, we'll turn this. Wait. Last time, no, turn this off because it's gonna be done. No, turn this off.
We're gonna get a copyright strike. Anyway, if I could sing, I would sing to you. But everyone in your spirits, just do the happy birthday to you. There you go.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. There you go.
You can play the tune.
Barely.
It's good.
Barely. In spirit. Everybody turn on the Stevie Wonder Happy Birthday song and sing it to Stephanie as March 23rd. We're both the week of the diva. A great time to be alive. Well, to be born. I don't know if it's time to be alive right now. I don't know.
Well, I won't bring that up right now. The quality of life has gone down in this country. Sorry.
All right, y'all. Have a good day. We'll holler at you later.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you.